guys, Pix here from 1036. Today I wanted to make a video about how to best approach getting your Wonder 1, how to get your blue wings, how to get your first dragon, that blue dragon here. So this style of video is going to be a little different, maybe a little more talk, less show, but I'm going to try and see if I can point out certain things by showing and whatnot. So let's see. You are either on a new server and you're going for your wings, or you're even on an old server and you're trying to go for your wings. So that's, especially on an old server, it's going to be really difficult. So I kind of wanted to touch base on that too, because we're a medium-aged server. 1036 is medium-aged, I guess, 3 years old. And we have big players on our server that constantly play SVS, score high, and have fun doing so, have fun playing SVS. Then we have tons of players still that don't have Wonder 1 and that don't play SVS. They're non-coiners, they're free to play, and I mean, of course, no shame in that, right? Like, this is supposed to be a game, and you shouldn't have to pay an arm and leg for every game that you play. So if you're a free-to-play player and you want to get your Wonder 1 and you're on a medium-aged old server, maybe come to an agreement with your server to make a new wing SVS. That's what we do. So for us, about every quarter, every 3 months, we might have to up it to sooner than that. But currently our gameplay is to every 3 months, we are holding what we call a new wing SVS. So all the players that have wings, that have Wonder 1, have to sit out. They just, place a 3-day bubble, and they don't do anything during SVS. They don't reinforce. What they can do is they can look for targets. They can share them in Alliance chat and World chat, whatever they do, but do not drop a bubble, do not gather, do not do anything that can collect any points. That might be something to look into with your own server. If you're running low on Wonder 1 players that can go for Wonder 2, if you're a peaceful server and you kind of have a method to getting your entire server stronger, then I would recommend doing a new wing SVS. The way that we approach our development, so to speak, is on the Arc of Triumph. On this last tab right here, this lists all the players that have Wonder 1, right? And yes, also a Wonder 2, of course, but this is all the players that have opened their Wonder, whichever it is, 1, 2, or 3. And here we have Wonder 2, 2, and then 1, 1. So these are from our last SVS. We actually just had a new wing SVS because we were running out of players that had Wonder 1 in order to go for Wonder 2. So yeah, so we decided on a new wing SVS. Now we have 2 more players. We have a total of 4 because one of our players got bumped off the top 5 because one of the wing players just could not sit still. Yeah, I mean, it's an entire server. You can't expect that from everybody, but I mean, that's a dick move. Anyways, so now we have 4 new players that can go for Wonder 2. And you do your 2 weeks rotation of King. One is during SVS week, the other one is not. So it is, on a peaceful server, pretty straightforward, pretty simple, pretty easy. And it kind of should be, because when you don't have Wonder 1 or Wonder 2, you are a weaker keep, and then you come across an alliance, a bigger alliance that has bigger keeps. Some people that coin, and as a free-to-play player, you kind of fall behind. But in order to keep wanting to play, you kind of want to develop. You want to keep developing. And for that, you need to get Wonder 1 and Wonder 2. That was kind of a long introduction to all of this. So for your server, I would recommend talking about a new wing SVS if that is something that is indicated for the age of your server. And then also, hopefully you are a peaceful server and have your own strategy on how to go about deciding on who goes for 1 or 2. All right, so now we have still tons of players that don't have 1 or 1, and they just don't play PvP. Is it because they are afraid? Is it because they don't have the time? Or like, what is the reason that they don't even try SVS? Is it because they think like, well, I will never make the top 5 anyways, and I don't want to waste any valuable source of life or any resources and all that stuff. So I totally get that. But eventually you'll have to, you know, step out of that box. So the preparations that are good in order to get better there's so many. I don't even know where to start. First of all, maybe start playing Battlefield. Get a little more accustomed with PvP play. Create your presets. Like, be more efficient with creating presets. Hopefully you have 4 slots. I mean, this is a K35, and I have 4 slots in this one. And yeah, I mean, you can do enough with that, right? The first march that you should be building is an archer march, to be fair. Like, an archer march you can send to pretty much any rally that is being set by a big rally leader. Archer rallies are one that are being set all the time, and you can also send an archer to a cav rally, and those are the main rallies that are being set, archer and cav. If there's a siege rally, it might be a little dicey, because if a siege rally is up, we're trying to eliminate sieges, and your archers will kind of die on that. But also, you don't have to join every rally if you're really a smaller player. What you can do is you can go for buildings in Battlefield and so on. Kind of get a feel of how Battlefield works, how PvP works, and listen to the experienced players. Like, when you're in Battlefield, be on Discord. If the language that is mainly spoken on Discord is not the language you understand and speak, be very, very observant in chat, in the Battlefield chat down here. So, and also communicate. Like, communication is huge, is so big. I tell my alliance that every now and again. It's like, yeah, I don't know what you want from me if you don't tell me. Either, you know, be it on Discord or on in chat. It's like, that's all I can go off of. Like, this is the communication we kind of have to work with, right? So, yeah, try Battlefield and practice your PvP play. Depending on where your build is, I know everybody's going to be at a very different level. First and foremost, your best defense is being able to ghost. Let's look at this. In this keep, I have 6 million troops, and I believe I can still ghost all of them, because my march size, depending on what general pairing I have, the march size gets a little bigger, of course, so close to 1.5 and 4 marches, no, and 6 marches, right? You have 6 march slots. You can ghost all of your troops. And if there are a certain type of troops that you don't want in battle because they're very vulnerable, let's look at my troops right here. You may have seen it. Like, I have a ton of T13 Cav, because I just want to participate in let's say, the deserters, and like being able to get some resources and rewards and everything from just being able to kill certain type of monsters in my own quests. But this is really just because it's a family account. The other thing that you can do is you can use your bunker. I mean, I personally wouldn't recommend upgrading your bunker all that high. This one is at 21. But maybe you can store a certain amount of troops in your bunker, but this only works for SVS. This does not work for Battlefield. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, use your bunker and SVS. Save some troops that you know are vulnerable and you don't have use for during SVS. Like for me, it would be the calves. Where are they? T13. Yeah, calves right here. I would probably just put a couple of calves in here, like max it out. And depending on how long I want to play, just, you know, select the time. Then they're gone, they're safe, and I don't have to worry about those. Now, when I do actually want to ghost my troops, prepare your march presets to your best ability. Either, let's say you have one PvP march, your archer march, make sure you have that set, and that should be the first one you ghost. Let's just go somewhere. Of course, there's nothing to ghost against. All right, so here's a keep I can ghost against. And if you are not familiar with ghosting, I don't know what the player base is that is watching my videos, so I'm going to be very detailed. If you're planning on ghosting, you have to declare war, and then select 60 minutes. So now you have an hour to do whatever you want to do, unless you're getting force ported and all your troops are being pulled back into your keep. So I don't think I have an archer march set. This one is also not complete. Also not complete, so poorly set up, but anyways. Let's pretend this is a march that I want to ghost. This is actually probably going to be a good march that I want to ghost, because these are my top 2 calves, and calves at home are very vulnerable. But since I'm going to be able to ghost all of my troops anyways, I can also go by just the top tier. Let's go, where is it? Power first. I can just use the power first and ghost all of this. If you do it that way though, your PvP march is going to be all messed up. So the first thing you want to do is ghost your PvP march, the one that you want to use in fighting. Either, you know, snipe a resource field, snipe a relic, snipe at a keep that the bubble came down and you know you have the ability to actually win the attack, or when you do temple play, and I'm going to go over that as well. So make sure you just fill your entire march and then you ghost it. Now you see it is at 1 hour and it's ghosted. So these troops right here now, they cannot be harmed. If you're not familiar with ghosting, that is the purpose of ghosting. Let's just keep going and ghost as many troops as I can. Power first, so it always fills my entire march. I'm not looking at anything specific, to be fair. Alright, I might not be able to ghost everything at this point, and the reason really is... Oh, I know I do. Alright, so it's actually selecting everything else. So now, when you look, now I have everything ghosted, and to be fair, this little march right here is not even a full march, so I have plenty of room to ghost all of my troops. And when you look at the details, this is at 0, 0, 0. Everything is, all of my troops are out of my keep, and if an enemy attacks me, all of these troops, the numbers that you see behind, like the 2,000, 2,600, 1,800, and so on, like the 437,000, all of these are safe because they're ghosted. They're not in my keep, they're not doing anything for me. So yes, I'm not getting any defense points, but that's also because I don't have a defense. So yeah, you have to then look into how can you get points, right? And I kind of already mentioned that with attack resource tiles, if people are still gathering during SVS, go look for the relics on the enemy server, see if there are still marches in there. At the beginning of SVS, that is actually a really good source of points, because when the, like just before SVS, if the server does not purge or doesn't find all the relics are actually often a pretty decent amount of points, because during if it's not during SVS, you just send your top tier troops because they have the best troop load and you get the most return on the relics and so on. So if you find a relic that you can attack, then go for it. Like, you may have to, depending on the strength of your keep, you may have to scout it first, or the strength of your PvP march. You may have to scout it first so that you don't hurt yourself too much or you lose the attack. But what you want to look for on the enemy server when you're looking, you have to be actually on the enemy server in order to be able to see what you can do with the relic. So if it says Explorer, that means there's nobody in there. If this instead says Attack, then you know somebody's in there and you can actually attack it and get some points in there. That's just something to keep in mind. Because on the enemy server, when you just click on it, it won't tell you what alliance is in there as it does on your home server. You may have already seen that, but I'm trying to reach all player types, like the ones that don't have a whole lot of experience, and hopefully that'll help you kind of play SVS a little bit safer. All right, so relics, resource tiles, keeps. If you see a keep that has an alliance tag on it, kind of just click on it and see how big they are. I mean, this one, for example, super tiny. I doubt there are going to be any troops in there. So just keep scouting around, keep looking around, and you'll hopefully find some keeps that have their bubble down. The keeps that are most likely going to have troops in their at home are the ones that are in an alliance, in a hive, I mean. So before SVS, make sure you bookmark all the alliances on the enemy server that you can find, and if your server is good, they will share it in world chat or an alliance chat. So just bookmark it. The way that I do it is alliances, I make them red. I don't even look at the tags down here, right? Enemy, friend, favorite, I really don't care. It just helps me when I look at the world map, like what color each of those are. So my strategy is when I bookmark, alliance hives are red. If I find a target that has either an expiring bubble or a bubble down, they're going to be purple. And if I have an imminent target right now, it's just going to be gold. So kind of find your strategy on how to bookmark certain things when you play SVS. So then, yeah, you have an alliance bookmarked. Keep just looking at the hives, see if there's a bubble down. But also, if there's a bubble down, look what keep type it is, right? Is it a big keep? Is it a small keep? Look at how big they are. I mean, 41. If you're a smaller keep, yeah, you can attack that. Even if it's empty, maybe you get some resources out of it. It's, you know, sometimes or a lot of times you attack an empty keep, and that's totally fine. It's just, you know, harvesting resources in that case. But if this is a bigger keep and you think your archer march or your main PvP march is strong enough to take that one out, give it a try. If, let's say this is my archer march. Okay, let's go over here. Archer march, I know this is currently mixed. And I don't have anything here, so I apologize. But if this were my archer march, make sure you have everything selected that you want. The military tactics, as well as attach your sub-cities so that you have the debuffs and everything. Make sure all of this is attached, and you should actually do that when you're setting your preset, and then, you know, just hit march. So these are like very basics to PvP. Just make sure you use the strongest march to send to an attack, especially on a keep. Just the keeps are the hardest ones to get points at if your PvP march is not super strong because of the debuffs of the enemy keep. So you always want to scout first. And if scouting kind of elicits the alliance to send reinforcements to the keep, then you probably don't want to attack it. If the scout elicits this player to then place a bubble, well, maybe you've lost the chance of the attack, but also you probably would have not gotten really good points in attacking that anyways. I would highly recommend being a little more cautious about it, but yeah. So there's a resource tile that I could attack and so on. You have to keep scouting the map. If you want to go for your wings, you have to play the entire SVS. You're probably going to get minimal sleep. It is a marathon. We all have done it, but it makes you grow, right? Like once you have your wings, you have Wonder 1. Wonder 2 hopefully is going to be easy on your server, and you can keep growing. Like all the players that have Wonder 1 and Wonder 2, they've grown so much in our alliance just by being able to open their Wonder and just getting better at PvP. Their buffs are getting better, they're upgrading their keeps, and so on. Alright, so the other thing I want to talk about during SVS, what you need to make sure before you decide to go for your wings, is actually that you have enough items. And the items that are important are resources, depending on how you play. But, I mean, still, you need resources, but then also revival stones in your shrine. Like, when you attack a keep and you bring your subsidies with you, if you lose that offense, if you lose that attack, or even if you win the attack, you will most likely have at least one when you win the attack, and all of your subsidy generals in your shrine for you to revive. And you've probably come across that before. And you don't want to have to wait the 2 or 3 days that it takes for you to revive that general. You need these stones. So make sure you have those. Let me see, I don't even know where I have them. These stones right here. Revival stones. And 190, that's probably gonna be close. Gonna be enough, hopefully, if I wanted to go for wings with this keep, depending on how aggressive I play. If I play aggressively, have a good archer march, and I attack keeps, I will continuously have my subsidies end up in the shrine that I have to revive, and that will drain my stones pretty quickly. If I lose an attack, then you have to just look at how many subsidies you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are 6 stones every single time you lose an attack. If you win an attack, it might be only 1 or 2 generals that you have to revive. So that drains your stones really, really quickly. Of course, you can also attack without the subsidies, but that makes your march a lot weaker and the point exchange less. So yeah, I mean, if you end up running out of these revival stones, it's not the end of your attempt to go for wings. The other thing, though, that is really, really important is source of life. And I'm pretty sure y'all have heard about the source of life. That is extremely important, and right here. So in this keep, I have 14,000, and that's actually a really good number for me to actually try and attempt going for wings. I think the minimum I would probably go with, depending also on your build, is maybe 6,000 plus minus. If you have a build that has a T1 shield, you kind of have some sort of a trap keep, then you need a lot of source of life, because the likelihood of you getting zeroed is high, right? You are a smaller keep, you don't have the defense build that a lot of other higher players have, and if your server is not in an agreement with the other server to do new wing SVS, the big players are sitting out, and so on, then the other server has the big players that will attack you and will zero you in one big swoop, and the point exchange is going to be really poor for you. You have to revive your entire keep with Source of Life, and they're just so expensive. Here, let's have a look at our last SVS, because as I said, this was a new wing SVS, and of course we lost, right? Because our server went for new wings, all the big players sat out, we didn't get any good scores, any good points that way, and the enemy server, they didn't do that. All the big players, they played, and they of course hunted down our smaller keeps. Look at the score, 6 billion to 22 billion. So of course, yeah, we lose. We knew that. We knew we were going to lose, and that's totally fine. And then you look at the players that did get the wings, top 5 right here. This player, unfortunately, couldn't sit still and even got 2 billion, so whatever. Be selfish. Anyways, so we have four new wings, and you look at their score. This is kind of the score that you would expect for keeps that are not super well developed and they're really trying really hard. But now let's look at the negative score. And I'm not trying to point them out or anything. It's really just that's the reality when you have a keep that they've built to be like a little trap keep, but they don't have the defense yet. So they should have actually gone for wings before going for a T1 shield and trying to do a trap keep. They should have stayed a ghost keep. And I think there are some ghost keeps here too. But let's see, we have this player, this, and this. Let's try and keep the names in mind. This player went negative really, really badly because doesn't have a good defense, was trying for wings and actually ended up in 6th place. So as you can see, like you can try and get 0 to get points, which that is not the best way of doing so because people just don't have the experience of playing SVS. So it's kind of sad to see this happening, but I mean, I want them to get their wings. I want them to at least try and fight a little bit. But the way that they fight is, just get zeroed. Are they doing it on purpose? I'm not quite sure, but it's just so expensive. It's kind of not worth it. And then here is 2.5 billion, 2.5 billion, and close to 2 and close to 2. So all of these top 5 in the negative score are also the ones that got either close to top 5 or were in the top 5, right? So it is rough to see. That is extremely expensive. I don't even know how many Source of Life that would be to revive a 5 billion keep. I mean, I think me personally I had to do that, but I also have T15, so I can't really compare that to me. But also, when I had -5, I had like +8 or something. Anyways, I hope this kind of helped you understand. It really doesn't matter if you lose that SVS because you kind of know you will. But if you know what, it's actually going to get really fun if you do have a server that agrees, an enemy server that agrees to, oh yeah, let's do new wing SVS for us too. So we have our smaller players fight against each other while the big players on both servers sit out. And we've had that happen once. And that was actually really fun to watch, really good to see people feeling comfortable-ish to play SVS. Something to always keep in mind when you play SVS is you will be nervous. You will be shaking like a leaf. Your heart will be racing. Your palms will be sweaty. I mean, that's how it was for me, even for the first mini SVS, honestly. But it was fun, like, trying to evade the enemy, trying to see if your defense is holding up, trying to see if your offense is strong enough to take out a keep. It's fun play. The other preparation I would take before you start SVS is fill your hospital with T1 troops. Currently I have extras in there, but here's a little start. I just don't heal those T1s. Eventually my hospital will be full with them, I guess. And I've mentioned this filling your hospital with T1s before multiple times. like for monster hunting and even attacking barbarians and whatnot, if you've seen my other videos. If you do this for SVS, you fill your hospital, then all of your troops will go, yes, still in your hospital, but you have to do the, oh, which is this right here? You have to do the revival. You get that white flag with a red cross on there, and that's how you revive your troops. The first couple of batches, I don't know what the requirements are for that, will cost you resources, and then after that it costs source of life. The benefit of filling your hospital, as I've mentioned before, is it is a lot cheaper. So at this point, it is still pretty cheap for me to revive all of these troops because it is just, you know, a minimal amount of T10, 9, 8, 7, and so on. But you probably have seen it in the other videos that if I only have T1 troops in here, like reviving with my healing with my resources and the healing speed is going to be extremely cheap if it's only T1s. If I don't have enough source of life and I just want to use up my resources that I've saved up hard for building up my keep levels and so on, yeah, you can do that, but that's so expensive. Also, it goes into your healing speeds. So I would recommend filling that hospital, but you do as you wish. So yeah, that was the hospital prerequisite, the shrine prerequisite, and yeah, make sure you use your bunker, prepare your marches. If you have more than one PvP march, make sure you set that too. Alright, so another fun play that I would highly recommend is temple play, temple tag. The first one you kind of want to try and conquer, but if you is the hunter temple, because of the temple effects, right? Everybody wants to have the other server to be a little turtle and slower in their monster march speed and so on. So this is kind of the first temple that either the enemy is trying to conquer on your server or your server is trying to conquer on the enemy server. But if you're still pretty shy, I would start out with this temple, the forging temple. And the reason really is because nobody cares about the materials as much. And the rate at which it decreases or increases your factory production speed is negligent. Nobody cares about this temple. So this is -15. You get these materials a lot slower, or you get it a little bit faster. So yeah, nobody really cares about this one. So yeah, start out with this temple. What you want to do is, if you can ghost, port right next to it. Like right here, right? Just port right next to it. You still have a bubble. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that now. So once you port right next to it, you sit right here, and you also want to look for a monster that you can ghost against. Now that you're sitting there and are looking for a monster, I would actually use this monster because it's cheaper in stamina. So this is only 15. This one is, I think, 20. Yep. And then this one is like 40 or something. So when I see players ghost against these big monsters, it's like, this is so expensive, save your stamina. Yeah, if you can't find a monster right next to you, I mean, this one is lucky right now, or I'm lucky to have this this monster right here. The easiest way to find a small monster, click on your map, go to the edge of the map, and well, you may have to scoot around just a little bit there. Let's see, that is 20. There, level 2. So you wanna ghost your troops against this one right here, Alliance War. It'll cost me 15 stamina, but that means I can actually stay bubbled. So the first thing, like I said, I want to do is ghost my Archer March. As I said, pretend this is my Archer March, and then I ghost it. And I showed you how to ghost. This is the same thing against a monster as it is against a keep. So here's a keep. If I were to do it against a keep, though, I cannot place a bubble. So just keep that in mind. If you want to ghost your troops against a keep, you cannot bubble up. If you're on the enemy server, I would probably choose a keep. As we were here on our server, it doesn't actually really work. So, okay, let me backtrack a little bit and apologize. If I'm on the enemy server, it really doesn't matter what you ghost against. Maybe your first march. Your first march, because you still have the bubble, the red bubble, right? You park yourself next to the temple, you have the red bubble, and you ghost against a monster, your PvP march. That PvP march is safe, and you can keep going. Now, what you want to do next is you can find yourself a dead keep, and if there's none near, what I would do is I would actually bookmark one. Be it a dead keep or just an unbubbled keep. Just bookmark it, because now when... okay, not where I want to be. Remember, I'm at the temple. Sorry. Scooting around too much. So, I'm at the temple, and I need to ghost. If I'm back centered around my keep with a view, with the fastest way, of course, is always going to your bookmarks. What? Don't have bookmarks? Okay, there it is. Go into the bookmarks, and then you can ghost your marches or your troops really quickly. Be it your proper PvP march or just a march that is full of upper tier troops. All right, so I kind of was talking a lot in regards to if you are a ghost keep. If you are a trap keep, you still want to ghost some of your troops, your upper tier troops, unless you really don't have any extra troops. But if you are that type of keep that has built tons of cavalry to do monster rallies, or just be able to be competitive in certain events where you need cav in order to kill certain monsters and so on, that cav needs to go. As I kind of already mentioned in the very beginning, that you can put some in your bunker, but that bunker is just so small and probably will only hold a very small percentage of those calves that you may have. So what you need to do is really ghost your march, your monster march. I mean, this is not a proper monster march, but ghost your monster march, get those calves out, and save those calves. If you can make it happen, keep some of the calf in your keep. It's kind of a very delicate thing to do when you're ghosting, but if you keep, let's say, 10,000 upper tier calves of the layers in your keep, that works as a defense if you are a trap type setup. And I think I've kind of sort of touched base on a trap keep setup before. I don't have its own video on that. I don't know if you want me to do one. I can try. I don't know if I'm the best person to do so, but maybe in the future. All right, sorry, it's getting longer and longer. But now you have ghosted either your marches and you're a ghost, or you've ghosted your marches just to be a better trap keep, and you're sitting right here, and if you're lucky, the enemy server either will not see you and you can get points from just sitting in the temple. It's not a whole lot of points, but hey, you're getting closer to conquering it. Yeah, you're not getting really any points in order to get your wings that way, but how you can get points is when you sit there and an enemy arrives, also parks probably pretty close to it, or maybe at the first attack they park far away and they kind of just want to snipe your march out of the temple. Then you can start playing temple tag or whack-a-mole or however you want to call it with the enemy. Let's say an enemy is sitting right here, and it is also same level as you are, as I am. Like, I'm a K35. This one is a K35. This is a really good matchup. Maybe you know, they send a full PvP march into the temple to get your march in here, and then you can counterattack their PvP march in here. So that's why it's kind of helpful to have all three PvP marches. You can neglect the siege march, but to have archer, cav, and ground available as a PvP march is kind of highly recommended. But if you don't, play with your archers and see how far you get. If there's a ground march in there, you can't really take that out with your archer march, so maybe have somebody else take it out that has a ground march in there. Communicate in Alliance chat. You know, maybe somebody can help you out. I've gotten lots and lots and lots of points that way. You have to be really fast. You have to know what they're sending. You have to also sometimes let certain marches go. Maybe I'll try one day. I know it's not going to be part of this video, but maybe one day I'll record myself playing Temple Tag with another player and see how that goes. But I've gotten tons and tons and tons of points that way by just either snagging one of their PvP marches in offense or even in defense. So, I mean, that's what they're trying to do with mine as well. It sometimes really comes down to who is the faster player. And it's fun to do. And that kind of makes SVS, I feel like, a little bit exciting too. One thing I would, though, recommend is what you want to keep. What you want to have is, I can't do that right now, right? But let's pretend this is the temple and I want to attack it. What you want to have is a march that only has one troop in there, just to make it a march. And I usually do it with a T1 troop so that I really have no losses if the enemy attacks me. The other thing that you need to have is a strong PvP general. This is 4.9. I don't think it is enough. I think it needs to be 5.2 or something for the total power. So if you don't have a strong enough general to do so, I think the assistant doesn't do anything. I've tried that before, and I don't think the clock started ticking. So make sure you have a strong enough general, as I was trying to show, when you send your march with just that one troop, because that means you don't really have a loss. What you want to do is you want to send a general that has a dragon that is at level 10, because that means you get the power out of it, as well as that general is survivable. That general will survive every single lost defense or even lost attack or whichever, because of the dragon. And I don't know if you were familiar with that, but let's have a quick look at that. When you look at your dragons, general survival rate is at 100%, so it'll always survive, regardless of losing an offense, losing a defense. Okay? Make that actually a preset. That's what I do during SVS. My monster joining march, this is my monster joining march. I just edit a little bit in my keep and add a general so that this is my preset. So that I don't have to select a general every single time. I can just select the preset and send it. Attack, preset, send. Attack, preset, send, so that you're as efficient and fast as possible. And that's also why you want to have the PvP presets, right? You want to be as efficient as possible. So that's, as I said, this is my pretend archer march. I have that as a preset. I know exactly where it's at, and I send it every single time I want to send it. If I have a PvP cav march, I have it set right here, and so on, depending on the order that you have things set up. Yeah, I think this kind of is mainly the temple tag in order to get your wings. How you can get best points, honestly, is be a ghost keep and play temple tag, attack resource fields, attack relics, attack keeps that are within your realm. and try and win the offense, to try and win the attack, try and win the defense. If you're in the temple and you're playing against a match and keep. If you're at the temple, you're a K35 and you're playing against a K38 or even a K30, well, K36 you can still try. You want to always scout the temple, see what march is in there, but then also look at the buffs. And I would highly recommend looking at my video about how to read battle reports and buffs and all that stuff so that you can get a little bit more familiar with that. So look at the buffs. If they match your buffs, you can try it. Even if it's a K36, if their buffs are as strong as yours are, then you can try and play temple tag. To keep levels higher than you, I would not recommend playing against. You're a K35, you're playing against a K37, I would probably just give up. Maybe either just, send that one T1 march or that one troop march, keep sending it back in and annoy them, and then they might leave you alone, or you just go to a different temple. And if they keep following you, you may have to give up, let it simmer for about a half an hour, and then come back. Because then they think you've given up, but you only actually have decided to give it a rest, take a pause, and just wait for them to go back to their hive, start monster hunting, or just log off the game, and then you come back to the game and sit back at the temple and start over. Maybe somebody else will join you. It is, like I said, it is a marathon. You will have to put in a lot of time. When you decide to go for your wings, make sure you have that weekend off, and try and go for it. So, as I was saying, I've talked a lot about ghosting and ghost keeps and whatnot. If you are not a ghost keep, if you're a trap keep, you have to make sure that you have some sort of defense. Make sure your defense general is not your char. Make sure you actually have your main PvP defense general available, and also that it's somewhat worked on, right? So this one would be my defense general. Only has 5 stars right now, but make sure you actually attach a beast and has gear on it, and the gear is refined. So this gear is not refined. This keep is not ready. Make sure you actually have some sort of defense to work with, because otherwise you have to pay so much source of life, as you've seen in our SVS matchup. It's just so expensive, and I would say not worth it. Now this one player that didn't make the top 5, will have to save up source of life again, and it takes time when you're a free-to-play player. So make sure you refine the gear. I think this one is refined. Yeah. Most keeps that you see that have a T1 shield are completely flat refined for mounted, and it does work really well. However, this one does not have a T1 shield. I think that's kind of what I was going with. Like if I'm caught with troops home, my upper tier troops will be a little more survivable and so on. Was it a smart move to do right now? I'm not quite sure. But as I said, this is not PvP ready, to be fair. But yeah, make sure you refine all of your gear properly. I know it's expensive, but it is even more expensive if it's not refined properly and you just get reamed in SVS or in Battlefield. Okay, also, if that is the general that you want to go with for good, and you probably need to make a decision early on. If you're free to play, go with a free to play general. George Dewey is a big favorite in that regard. Make sure you spec them out too, like the 1, 2, 3, 4 if you can, and if you then have a battle tested from whichever source possible, give them a battle tested. But you may not have that available yet, because most of the battle tests you get from SVS chests, personal chests. give them the right books. Make sure they all have the right books. As you can see, this one is not set up. Make sure you support your troops. And I have, I think, multiple videos where I always, emphasize support the troops that you have. I can't tell you exactly what books to put on here, but yeah, support the troops that you have. That is defense. Now, your subsidies. You want to make sure you have PvP generals in your subsidies. If I look at my subsidies, some people have these non-PvP generals just, to get their subsidies leveled higher. This one, for example, is boost the gold production. This is not a PvP general. I mean, if you have that general in your keep and you level them up in stars, if you send them, you get some PvP out of them, but those are not the strongest subsidy generals. And you should get your gold other ways. This is not a good general to actually keep around. It might be, is he one, Pompey? No, I don't think he's a Covenant. Anyways, make sure you actually have your PvP generals attached to your subsidies. Also, your subsidy generals need to have gear. If you already can make it happen, upgrade the Commandity gear to Parthian gear. I do have a video on that as well, on your subsidy generals and their gear. So make sure you are prepared. If you can star them up. It gives you even more debuffs. Debuffs are really, really helpful against stronger keeps than you are, okay? Attach spirit beasts. It is a little easier now to level your spirit beasts up and to get spirit beasts and so on. Make sure you get spirit beasts to attach to your subsidies. I have recently created a video on defense, that you should definitely look into doing the seals on your subsidies. Get more buffs down here. So if that helps you, just go through my entire archive, through my entire video library and look to see what videos are helpful in order to improve your keep. That's the whole purpose of my channel, honestly, to make you a stronger keep in offense and in defense. To know what to look for, to know where to get your buffs, and so on. So hopefully this kind of helps you. Make sure your subsidy generals do have spirit beasts, and then depending on what spirit beasts you have, as you've seen my George Dewey doesn't even have a spirit beast, so he would definitely benefit from one, and probably can be one of the premium ones, where it says when defending the main city or when defending the enemy ranged troop attack. So when defending, right? So this is going to be really helpful just on my defense general. Something to just always keep in mind, especially when you get zeroed, is, and you don't have a dragon on your wall general, which before you get 1-to-1, you only have these two, right? Or maybe you actually have put some money down, and you have either Jazar or this one. I think can be used in defense as well. I mean, it has debuffs. Attacking. So actually, this one is not good as a wall dragon. But this one, ranged troop attack, mounted troop attack. So this one is universal. Can be beneficial in your city, and then ranged troop and mounted, and then in-city ranged troop and in-city mounted attack. So if you end up having gotten this dragon, use this dragon on your wall, and it'll make you a little more survivable, as well as you don't have to revive your general in the shrine. So yeah, if you get zeroed as a trap keep before healing all of your troops, actually I would recommend going in your shrine and reviving all of the generals that just died. Okay, this is going to be your 2 wall generals, the main and the assistant, as well as your subsidy generals. And yeah, as a trap keep, also make sure that you actually check these boxes. If you are a ghost keep and you are playing SVS, absolutely make sure that these are not checked. Because if they're not checked, your subsidies will engage every single time you're being attacked, and you will lose the defense regardless, right? But also, your subsidy generals will die every single time, and that gets expensive. So make sure these are not checked. When you're playing Battlefield, BOG or BOC, always check them, because your generals never die in Battlefield. That's nice. So that's why it's really helpful to start fighting in battlefields. Work with your alliance to get into Battlefield and have somebody, guide you through it. If you have an inexperienced Battlefield team, you kind of have to go with the flow. Kind of be observant, watch what they're doing, and if you're a small keep, go with what they're telling you. Like as I said, communication is key. All right, I think this may be the biggest part for what I can tell you about what to do to be a better SVS player in order to get your 1-to-1. Maybe I forgot a few things. Maybe people can add some comments and I can either summarize them in another video. But be smart, play smart. Okay, don't just get 0 to try and get defense points, because if you don't have a defense, you will not get any points, and you have to pay hard for that. We have had players after they've tried for wings and then even failed, or even if they won, but that they were asking for gems so that they can buy Source of Life in the shop, right? I think it's up here. Oh, war. There we go. Yeah. So you can get Source of Life right here. Depending on how many gems you have, you may have to just use up all of your gems, ask your alliance to send your gems in order to help you out. And that's just poor planning. I mean, if you have a good alliance, they will help you out, but there are better ways to fight, and instead of just getting zeroed and hoping for points. That's why, I mean, that's a really big reason why I have this channel, so that you can build your keep to be better, to improve your PvP, to have fun in this game. This is just part of this game. A lot of, you see a lot of players, it's like, what are you doing in this game other than resource gathering and monster hunting? There's so much more to it. It's kind of fun, and it's a community. Yeah, of course, you also just come to this game to be part of the community. It's fun too. But there's so much more to it, and it's thrilling. It is so exciting. Go into your first adventures during SVS, yeah, like your heart will be jumping out of your chest, your palms will be sweaty. Just don't lose your phone. If you're playing on the computer, don't throw your mouse away. It is fun. I hope this video was helpful. I know it's kind of lengthy, but I wasn't able to show too much, maybe a little bit, but hopefully it was helpful in order to prepare a little better for SVS. If you have questions, please write in the comments. I read them, and if I can respond, I will. If it is a response that I prefer to put in a video, I will probably just collect a few responses and make another video, because this is actually a really important video, because there are so many players all across Evony, not just on my server, that just don't go for their wings because they're afraid of playing SVS, because they don't have the defense, they don't know how to. I mean, I'm willing to teach. This is part of this channel. This is a teaching channel. So share with your alliance, share with them the idea of having a new wing SVS. And honestly, it is really exciting to watch when you are an experienced player. You have to sit back, and the enemy server also agrees to new wing SVS. Then you have these smaller players fight against each other. It's fun to watch. Just Be open-minded. We all need to grow, right? We all need to work together to grow because not everybody is a coiner. Don't expect everybody to be a coiner. So, yeah. Give this a like, share with your alliance. I know this was long, but hopefully it did help. And I'll see you guys around.